girl, you didn't. You don't want him. I can tell you this, you don't want him. Hi guys, it's Sarah. Welcome back to another video here on my channel. I hope you guys are doing well. First and foremost, I want to say a big thank you for helping me hit 1,000 subscribers. I am so excited. We made it to 1,000 in under a year, which is like so cool to me. February was when I started my channel last year, so it's really cool to see how much we've grown. To all of you out there that have subscribed so far and are always so kind down in the comments, thank you guys so much. If you're new to the channel or you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and do that now if you'd like. It does help me keep growing, which helps me, keep these videos coming to you guys as steadily as I can. I try to do at least one video a week, but we do normally get 2 to 3, so stick around. Today we are talking about season 8 of the Vampire Diaries. Absolutely insane that we're here. I kind of can't believe it, but let's get right into it. We got a lot going on in these first couple episodes. Let's go. So we open this season with a couple in a car driving down like a misty, dark road. So we can assume that we're back on the whole like vampire hides in road, vampire attacks people train. We are. Damon is there. They end up swerving out of the way and not hitting Damon. So then Enzo like jumps in front of the car and they hit him and kill him. But then when they get out of the car, Damon's there. Enzo wakes up and like puts his bones back together, which is so scary. The kids are freaking out because it's like this young couple in the car. They kidnap them and take them back to the warehouse where they've been like, hiding all those victims. We saw them in the last one. They tell us that they're being mind controlled to do all of this. It's clear that Damon is a little off. Like, he's supposed to not have his humanity on, right? But he's a little too normal. They do brutally murder the boy, but Enzo takes the girl away because she's not evil enough. They're being told to like bring only the worst of the worst to whatever the creature is that they're killing for. So Enzo takes the girl away. Damon murders the boy by dropping him into water, and then like he gets torn apart and the hook comes back out of the water and there's no body on the hook anymore. Like it's gross. And when Enzo comes home again, he's like, so you want to watch some TV tonight or what? And Damon's like, actually, I think I'm just gonna read. And Enzo's like, okay, good night then. And Damon's like, good night. And they just walk away from each other. Weirdly normal. This scene has no business being as funny as it is. We then cut to Caroline and Stefan happily making out in his bedroom. They're having a great time. Bonnie is at the cabin still trying to play guitar. One of the strings breaks and she has a whole little meltdown because she misses Enzo so much, and it triggers a memory of him like fixing a broken string on the guitar for her. This is when her hair finally looks like this. By the way, I've been using this picture almost the entire time because this is my favorite look on Bonnie, but she looks like this now officially. Rick has taken over running the armory. He's working with some like assistant intern people. One of them is named Dorian. He will be important later. The other one is named Georgie, and she's definitely into Rick. So buckle up for that storyline. They've also hired a nanny to help look after the kids because they're both so busy right now and they can't be with them all the time. Caroline is a little uncomfortable because the nanny, whose name is Celine, is kind of hot. The interns, Dorian and Georgie, are working on trying to figure out how somebody could have gotten out of the vault. Somehow they put it together that they need like sensory deprivation to unlock a secret room. So they blindfold Rick and put headphones on him so that he can only use his sense of touch. And he finds like a false wall and goes through it into like a treasure room, basically. Damon is reading 50 Shades of Grey, which personally, I don't think he would enjoy. Like, I think he would see way too many similarities and he'd be like, self-reflection? I think not. And he would like throw the book away. Enzo complains to him about how he doesn't want to be doing what they're doing and he doesn't understand why Damon is so okay with it. And Damon's like, duh, I flipped my humanity switch, so I'm not caring about anything anymore. You should do the same thing. They're keeping like whatever scary demon thing was in the vault under the water. So it's an aquatic scary demon thing. And he throws Enzo in there so he can talk to it himself. But Enzo ends up just getting like roughed up a little bit and then dragging himself back out of the water. Rick in the secret treasure room cave system thing is being all cool, calm, and collected, and the interns are just eating it up. Like, they think he is so cool and sexy and nerdy in the best way. But I am officially off the Rick train, because what's happening to him now is when I start to dislike him. I don't like his bad father era. I didn't like his Caroline Forbes' hot era either. So I'm not a Rick lover anymore, unfortunately, but the interns are. We get a nice scene of Caroline with the girls at her office at work. She has been given like an edited version of the video of Enzo talking to Virginia in the mental hospital, but for some reason the like footage cuts out whenever Virginia tells him the truth, because she's the only one that knows and he's the only one that was told, but he obviously didn't tell anybody, so now they have no way of figuring that out again. Bonnie is reaching her breaking point, but Stefan is trying to convince her to hold on to hope, because they're the two that care the most, so they need each other or the boys are screwed. The gang gets alerted that a body has been found. Remember, all these people have been disappearing, but the bodies were disappearing with them, so they had no leads. Now they have a body, and they're like, oh, maybe this is gonna be a good thing. It looks like the girl was strangled with guitar string. Then they realize that the car has exactly 3 miles left of gas in it, and 3 miles from the crime scene location is a slaughterhouse that for some reason was recently closed down. So Enzo had told Damon that he had about 2% of his own self-control left, and it looks like he left some clues for Bonnie to help find him. Caroline is still trying to listen to the video, but it's not working. The nanny calls and says that Rick still isn't home, so she's wondering if Caroline knows where he is. Then the door blows open. Caroline has called and found out that Rick is still stuck at the office. Okay, they can't reach him, but the nanny is like, oh no, he's here, the door just opened. Except no, it's not Rick, it's Virginia. She steals a knife from the kitchen, she cuts the nanny's throat, so the nanny is dead. Caroline takes off running to get there, but Virginia is in the house looking for the girls. We do get these scenes of her stalking through the house with a bloody knife. It is in fact giving Kai from 1994. I don't make the rules. If you don't want me to think about him so much, quit doing these scenes that mirror scenes we already saw him do. Caroline thankfully gets home and stops Virginia and saves the girls. She also is able to heal Celine somehow, even though her throat was cut and she absolutely should have died. In the treasure room, Rick is like geeking out about all the gold and the artifacts and stuff. He's losing his mind. And Georgie is like, wow, you've never been hotter. I'm obsessed. And he's like, hold on now, young lady. I only have it in me to be attracted to one far too young for me woman in my lifetime. You must back off. And Georgie's like, man, okay, I had to shoot my shot though. And I'm like, girl, you didn't. You don't want him. I can tell you this, you don't want him. He gets the call that something's happened though to Caroline and the girls, so he rushes home to help them. Bonnie is at the crime scene and they find candle wax in the girls' ears, which is definitely suspicious and weird. Stefan goes to the slaughterhouse to try to find Damon, and then when Damon shows up, he's like mopping the floor, being like, hello, brother, you found me. You need to leave immediately. Damon admits that he knows what's going on, but he can't tell Stefan what it is. It is, in fact, connected to hell, and so that's why Damon gave up his humanity, because he knows where he's going at the end of everything, and so it's not worth fighting it. But Stefan is like, I won't leave you alone, so he refuses to go. Caroline sends the nanny away with the girls and then wakes Virginia up by slapping her in the face. Virginia, though, will only say, you shouldn't have opened the vault. I was coming after the girls because you had them open the vault. They are coming. And then she chews off her own tongue and dies. So Bonnie shows up to the slaughterhouse while Damon is explaining that he gave up everything because he knows that Elena's gonna go to heaven and he's gonna go to hell. So what's the point anymore? which is crazy, but they really do be bringing heaven and hell into this in season 8. They ran out of options. Enzo shows up, and then Damon snatches Bonnie by the throat and threatens to kill her. Bonnie is trying to get Enzo's attention, but he's like not even fully looking at her and clearly acting like she doesn't exist, which is really upsetting to her. Yeah, so Virginia died. Rick comes home and helps clean up the body and everything. Turns out Caroline has been living in her old house in Mystic Falls, and now Rick has decided that really he should move in there and out of his crappy, single dad apartment. He should live with the girls, and then Caroline should go move in with Stefan because that's what she really wants to do, because he's a mind reader and he knows these things. And Caroline agrees. Stefan takes Bonnie home to the cabin, and now he is the one like being swallowed with guilt because Damon said that it was all Stefan's fault, and everything that's happening to Damon is because Stefan forced him to turn 160 years ago. So now Stefan's being all emo again, and Bonnie is like, no, we have to hold out hope. Enzo left those clues. Something's going on that they're not being able to tell us, and we're going to be able to save them. Stefan, don't give up. And then once she goes inside, she has even more memories of Enzo reading the Odyssey to her, specifically the part about the sirens and how the sailors like plugged their ears with wax to get by her. Uh-oh. We go back to Damon and Enzo at an art gallery. Now they've gone after an artist who seems to be making his paintings with his victim's blood. Interesting story that we don't get to hear more about, but that guy dies. Damon in this moment reminds Enzo that the creature controlling them can see into their minds, implying that he switched his humanity off to keep his loved ones safe. And he knows that if Enzo doesn't do that, their loved ones are still in danger because the creature will go after them to get total control of Enzo and Damon. Stefan writes to Elena saying that he thinks there's one more piece of humanity left inside Damon, and then we see Damon dreaming about Elena and meeting her for the first time, so he is holding on to like his attachment and his love for Elena, and that's why, even though his humanity is like technically flipped off, he's able to like sort of be himself and remain like a little bit in control. They sort of just like gave up on the humanity switch rules because this is the first time he's ever been able to do that. So Caroline comes into Stefan's room and says she wants to move in with him, and he's thrilled and they kiss. Bonnie calls Rick because obviously he's like resident professor. So she's like, Enzo left all these clues connecting back to stories about sirens. What does it mean? Rick explains that everybody has legends or stories about sirens. Normally they're connected to the devil, and they do his bidding to lure people to hell. Then we see Enzo and Damon taking another victim to the water to be eaten and torn apart, and then this time, instead of scary clawed hands coming out of the water, it's a very pretty lady. Here she is. Oh no. Now Damon is going after sketchy businessmen. He takes one of them to see the siren lady. She's in the pool swimming around because she likes water. Obviously, she gets the guy to come into the water with her and then kills him via her mind control singing powers. She also tells Damon that Enzo is definitely not as like involved as she would like him to be, so they need to figure that out and handle it. It's Caroline's turn to update Elena about Enzo leaving them clues and also her moving in with Stefan and how happy she is. Stefan is redecorating and updating the house for them. Very cute. Rick is settling into his new life at the old freaking Forbes house with the girls. Celine comes and is like, hey, I think you and Caroline accidentally overpaid me last week. And he's like, no, we didn't. We've given you a raise, because she died in their living room. The siren wants to know how Enzo is able to fight her off so easily. Turns out our boy is really, really good at dealing with torture. Okay, we already knew that, but she was not prepared for how strong he is. So he's able to like fight her from getting into his head, and he's still hiding memories from her. However, she insists and insists and insists until he finally gives up the name Sarah Nelson, which is not good. Caroline then finds women named Sarah Nelson that are being murdered in North Carolina. And that really worries Stefan because obviously the real Sarah Nelson is actually Sarah Salvatore, and she also lives in North Carolina. So this is Enzo leaving them clues and warning them about what's coming. They race off to find her because Stefan is terrified that it's Damon who's like controlling this, and so Damon is gonna want to kill Sarah because he's killed all the other Salvatores. And this is when Bonnie in the back seat goes, wait a second, is this a story about Damon killing the pregnant lady, the worst thing he's ever done? Oh yes, I've heard this before. You know where she heard it before? I can't. Bonnie's also watching Caroline and Stefan hold hands in the front seat, and she's clearly very upset about that because she misses Enzo. Damon is still trying to convince Enzo to just turn off his humanity to keep everybody safe, but Enzo refuses. Weirdly, again, Damon's really scared about what's going on, and Enzo's like, I don't really understand how you feel that way if your humanity is off. And Damon's like, why don't you stop asking questions? So they snatch Sarah from her campus and then take her to a quiet place to talk, but thankfully she remembers Enzo. So she vervains Damon and she's like, what is going on? And Enzo's like, I'm so glad you remembered how to take care of yourself. Where's your passport? We got to get you out of town. He takes her home, and then we see Caroline, Stefan, and Bonnie waiting for her to get back. When he sees Bonnie, he goes, hello, love. Help. Georgie is still flirting with Rick, okay? She's also starting to get suspicious that he's making them do all this weird research, but he's talking about the potential fact that sirens might be real, as if sirens are really real. And she's like, do you actually really believe in this stuff? And he's like, no, you're helping me write a book. Behave, little intern, stop asking questions. She freaks out when she sees a certain symbol doodled in the notebook that they're going through and like storms out of the room. Back at Sarah's apartment, Enzo can't really look at Bonnie because he's trying his hardest to like fight off any memories of her and not let like new emotions into his head because he doesn't want the siren to be able to read his thoughts. She pushes him, and I'm gonna be real, she pushes him a little too much, okay, because he's trying his best to explain what's going on, and she's like, I don't understand, do you want to be with me or not? And he's like, girl, yes, of course I do. Why do you think I'm fighting this as hard as I am, but I don't want you to get hurt? Bonnie obviously wants him to run with her, and he's like, girl, I am running in all the ways I know how, okay? I'm leaving you clues. I've been leading you to us. I need your help, but I can't leave her. So Bonnie's like, oh, I understand. And she knocks him out and kidnaps him anyway. Since Bonnie left, Caroline is alone in the hallway and she gets attacked by Damon. He takes her ring and throws it out of the way so that she can't get out of the shadows, and then he goes inside to confront Sarah and Stefan. Sarah's mad at Stefan, which is a hot take, okay? I get it that like he's been lightly controlling her life and like orchestrating everything, but he's been doing all of it to keep her safe, okay? And he gave her a trust fund that she stopped using when she realized where the money was coming from, because she was like, and I quote, I didn't want to take money from murderers. Girl, in this economy? So Damon jumps into the apartment and attacks her, and Stefan is like, please, Damon, don't do this. He explains who she is and that she's Uncle Zach's kid, and Damon somehow is able to fight the compulsion to kill her and stops himself. Rick goes after Georgie and has the nerve to be like, hey, listen, if you want to be taken serious in academia, you have to leave the room with more decorum than that. What's wrong with you? And Georgie is like, yeah, I'm sorry. I've seen that symbol before when I died. And she tells him about how she had like a near-death experience, or I guess a death experience. Like she was in a car crash that she caused and she killed her best friend in the process, and she died and was then brought back. But while she was dead, she knew she was in hell because it was like this horrible dark space where she was existing, just like wallowing in self-loathing. And then she saw the symbol, and for some reason then she got that symbol tattooed on her to like mark herself. And then when she was in jail for, you know, vehicular manslaughter for killing her best friend, she did research, and now she basically has like a PhD in all things hell, which is so convenient. Good work, Georgie. Enzo wakes up in the back of Bonnie's car, absolutely freaking out that she took him. His nose starts bleeding, like he is frantic because he knows he needs to get back to the siren lady. So Bonnie reluctantly turns the car around. He explains that his mind is literally bonded to the siren lady's mind, and she has like basically total control over him, and he can't fight it any more than he already is. Bonnie is like, I can't lose you again. And he's like, Bonnie, you never lost me. Oh, it's so sweet. Stefan's trying to get Damon to let Sarah go. And he says like, maybe if he spares Sarah's life, then like the bad guy skill will tip in his favor and he'll be able to go to heaven with Elena. So it works. And Damon's like, okay, sure, run. Sarah goes running out of the apartment and straight into a knife that the siren lady is holding. Stefan tries to save her by breaking the siren lady's neck and then going to give Sarah his blood, but the siren lady is much tougher than that. So she stops him, makes him freeze in place, and then Sarah is bleeding out and he's unable to help her. And obviously Damon's also under mind control. So this is not gonna go well. So the siren goes up to Damon and is like, who's Elena? She heard everything they were talking about, and now she knows for sure that he has a loyalty leak and he's a liability too, just like Enzo. So she goes into his memories and she basically reprograms them so that he thinks that she was there the night he was supposed to meet Elena. Yes, Sarah bleeds out on the floor in front of Stefan, who is unable to help her, and she dies, which just absolutely breaks his heart. Damon leaves and Stefan tells Sybil that Damon is stronger than she thinks he is, and she's like, no, sweetie, he isn't. Bonnie finds Caroline out in the hallway and gets the stake out of her back, and then they proceed to have a fight because Caroline is upset that Bonnie broke off their plan and risked everything to try to save Enzo, and then ultimately it didn't even work and Enzo went back to Sybil anyway, so it was all pointless. And Bonnie's like, I'm sorry, did you think that I like shouldn't have done that? And Caroline's like, yeah, kind of. And then that devolves into Caroline being like, I'm sorry, are you mad at me and Stefan for being happy in front of you? Like, that's lame. And Bonnie is like, no, I'm not mad, but I am hurt, and it sucks watching you guys have everything that Enzo and I wanted and we were right on the brink of getting, and then it was taken away from us. And then Caroline very quickly is like, oh, hold on, I'm reverting to bad habits and being a terrible friend. Bonnie, of course, I hadn't even thought about how this would look to you and how it would make you feel. I'm here for you. I promise I'm gonna do everything in my power to get Enzo back, and we're gonna make your happiness the most important thing. And it's like, are we? I don't know if we will be doing that, okay? Because at this point, I have no trust in anyone. Bonnie is always being given the shortest stick, and I'm sick of it. Rick comes home late and then ends up dumping on Celine everything that's been happening to him at work. She teases him about Georgie the intern, and then Georgie calls and she's like, hey man, you know that artifact we've been trying to figure out? Well, I found this, and it's a giant tuning fork, okay, like very large tuning fork with the same symbol carved into it. When Enzo comes home to Damon and the siren, Damon grabs Enzo by the heart to distract him with pain long enough for her to get into his head. We see the aftermath of Enzo asking Bonnie to like send him back, Bonnie freaking out on him again, and then Enzo kissing her. So unfortunately now Sybil knows about the Bonnie Bennett connection, which is deeply, deeply bad for everyone involved. When they get home, Stefan's not doing well. He like doesn't even really want to talk to Caroline about it. He's basically just reached this point of being like, my life is terrible. All of my relatives are dead. I was trying my best to keep Sarah alive and I couldn't even do it. So everything is awful and all of it sucks. What's the point of being here anymore? Caroline is like, Stefan, Damon's still here. He's not gone yet. And Stefan is like, yeah, except I've never seen him like this before, okay? But then he quickly changes the subject from all of that and is like, I have something I want to show you. He takes her to the room he's been renovating and explains that it's for the twins, okay? He's making them a bedroom. She's so excited and touched by the gesture. She starts looking at the furniture that he's picked out, and when she opens one of the dresser drawers, she sees a freaking velvet box waiting for her. He says, oh, yes, actually, that's for you. I was hoping you'd wear it. No, I am not kidding you. He proposes right then and there. It's adorable. Caroline and Stefan are engaged. Happy second episode of season 8. Wow. Alright, so remember how Sybil was messing with Damon's memories? We open with like a replay of the Elena car crash, only this time the sheriff says that all 3 of them died. So then Damon and Sybil are standing on the Wickery Bridge and she's like, "Oh, how sad. Did you know her?" And he goes, "No, I never got to meet her." Oh no. Enzo is once again fighting Sybil because she's trying to like force him to turn his humanity off and like be her little puppet, and he's refusing, even though now he knows that she knows the truth about everything. So it's like, even though things are bad and they just keep getting worse, he's still fighting back, which is so sexy. And it's even sexier once Sybil confirms that she's like thousands of years old, okay? And Enzo is one of like a handful of men that have ever fought against her. I love him. Enzo is insisting though that Bonnie doesn't actually mean anything to him and Sybil got it wrong. So Sybil's like, "Okay, that's fine. Damon, go kill Bonnie Bennett for me." And Damon's like, "Sure, I'd love to." Caroline wakes up in bed, but then instead of Stefan being there, it's Bonnie. She's decorated the room and she wants to take Caroline dress shopping because she's so happy for her. This, after the fight that we just saw and Bonnie admitting that seeing them so happy makes her feel so lonely she wants to die, is heartbreaking, okay? Because Bonnie is like the most selfless character in the show, and the thing that makes me really sad is that I don't actually think Bonnie is that selfless. They just write her into this corner where she is constantly just doing everything possible for everybody else, and her own suffering is just like put on the back burner. Even an episode later, after she has just finally admitted how she feels, she's once again back to just like being the perfect best friend for Caroline and making sure Caroline has everything she needs. And I hate it. I really hate it. Watching it this time around really opened my eyes to all of this nonsense, and it just makes me so sad because I love Bonnie so much and I know what's coming. I'm so angry. Caroline even says, "You don't have to fake being happy for me, like we can wait a little bit." And Bonnie is like, "No, I brought your wedding book that you made when we were kids because this is all you've ever wanted and I want to celebrate you." Caroline gives in and is like, "Oh my god, I'm getting married." And it becomes like everything's fine and they're having a great afternoon. Good for them, I guess. Stefan goes to see Rick to make sure he's okay with the engagement, and Rick is shockingly fine. The interns have come over to work from home since Rick needs to watch the girls, and then he shows Stefan the tuning fork that is clearly a tuning fork, but no one seems to recognize it. Remember how mad I got when they didn't know what Viking runes looked like? That's how I feel about this tuning fork situation. I'm like, none of you have seen one of these before. No one? At the dress store to look at wedding dresses, Caroline is now in like full bride mode. She knows what she wants and she's ready to try everything. Also, Bonnie's gonna be her maid of honor. They even make a joke about how if Elena wasn't in the coffin, Elena would be maid of honor. Why would you admit that? They can both be your maid. You can have more than one. Then Damon shows up, he kills the dress assistant and then attacks Bonnie. So then Caroline distracts him by fighting him and Bonnie gets to run away. It's bad. He chases Bonnie through the shop. He's like tormenting her. So then Caroline like impales him through the wall and the girls get away. Sybil and Enzo show up and Enzo lets slip that Bonnie means a lot to Damon, or at least she used to before he flipped his switch. So now Sybil knows that connection is there. I'm like, Enzo, honey, you could have just not smiled. Why did you have to smile in this moment? Now that Sybil knows that Damon likes Bonnie, so he wasn't really trying to kill her, she inserts herself into all the memories of Bonnie too. So she's like rewiring his brain so that all he thinks about is Sybil and he's got no other connections to anybody else. Caroline gets Bonnie to the Salvatore house, but Stefan has been freaking childproofing, so the weapons are not where the weapons are supposed to be. Rick now has hours to help figure out what that weird tuning fork, that's definitely not a tuning fork, he's got to figure out what that is in hours instead of days, so the interns get frantic. Damon calls Stefan saying that he needs help and he's clearly fighting some compulsion. And Stefan's like, all right, I'll be right there. Yikes. So when Caroline and Bonnie come back into the room having found the crossbows, Sybil is waiting for them in the living room. Sybil wants to know what makes Bonnie so special that she's got Damon and Enzo wrapped around her little fingers. She hints that something must have happened in the prison world, but Bonnie's like, nope, I swear nothing happened. Everything is strictly platonic between me and Damon, which I think we all know is a little bit of a lie. She's holding on to that, okay? And I'm gonna let her have it. Georgie tells Rick that she thinks the weird weapon thing is definitely the devil's pitchfork. She's also like officially being like, hey man, I understand that you think this is real and I would love more information so that I can properly help you since we're clearly not working on a book, okay? What are we doing here? He lies and says, oh, well, I'm gonna go use this weapon against a secret magical creature, bye, and then like blows it off so Georgie doesn't know if he was being serious or not, but he leaves her home alone with his daughters and says that Celine will be back soon. Okay. Well, Stefan meets with Damon at the high school, and Damon says that he literally cannot tell him what Sybil is planning, like her big plan. He knows it, and he knows that he knows it, but when he tries to tell Stefan, the words come out scrambled and he can't say it. Then he shows Enzo tied up and vervained in the trunk of his car. Sybil tells the girls that she wants Bonnie to pick which one of the boys gets to live and stay Sybil's slave, and which one of them gets to die a horrible death and end up in hell for all of eternity, because she confirms that both the boys are homicidal murderers. So both of them will be going to hell when they die. And this is so funny to me because you know who else was a homicidal murderer? And Bonnie hated him, but that's fine. Bonnie is like, oh, I get it. You're jealous because both of these guys love me unconditionally, one as a friend and one as a boyfriend, and you are having to like trick them into being with you. And the only reason why they're staying with you is because you're using your magic on them. Which, yes, that is exactly what's wrong with Sybil, but she's a mean girl. So she's like, you know what, Bonnie? I'm gonna let you in on a little secret. Damon and Enzo have currently been tasked with fighting to the death. So if you don't pick, one of them's just gonna kill each other anyway. Then we see the boys getting ready to fight each other, but thankfully Stefan is there. The twins have the devil's pitchfork thing and they're fighting over it. We're gonna learn really quickly that Lizzie likes to take things from Josie, okay? That's a problem. Lizzie is always the one getting into trouble for taking things from Josie. So she's holding it and she's like, but Daddy, I had it first. And Rick's like, I said put it down. When they drop it, it goes ding, 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 ding on the floor, and they start screaming and Rick starts screaming, and Georgie comes running into the room and is like, did they cut themselves? I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have left it out. I didn't mean to, blah, 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 blah. And the girls are like yelling and Rick is like, no, everybody's fine. Everything's okay. Everybody calm down. Bonnie and Caroline are in the car racing off to where the boys are fighting. It is pointed out that Sybil is not wearing a seatbelt. That will come back in a few minutes, so prepare yourselves. So Damon brought Stefan along so that Stefan could help him fight Enzo, and Enzo's like, wonderful. So this is once again not going to be a fair fight. I love this for us, Damon. At least you're consistent. Stefan is like, are you serious right now? Can't you fight this? Like, if you kill Enzo, Bonnie will never forgive you. And Enzo is like, it's okay, Stefan. He doesn't know what he's doing. She's messed with his memories. It's not his fault. Stop being nice to him. Damon at this point is telling everybody that he doesn't care about anything anymore. He just doesn't want to go to hell because he saw it and he never wants to go there again. Right after this, Sybil is like explaining to the girls that hell is real and it doesn't matter, again, who dies. Whichever boy dies, they will be going to hell and it will be awful for them. She goes into Caroline's mind and sees that Caroline thinks that Stefan will somehow get there and save everybody. But Sybil points out that Stefan will not actually fight against Damon, okay? So no matter what, if they just leave it to Stefan, Enzo's gonna die. She makes fun of Bonnie for also not picking Enzo because she doesn't want to make the choice and pick between them. So Bonnie crashes the car and Sybil goes flying out of the front windshield because remember, she's not wearing a seatbelt, so the girls get away. The clock hits the allotted time and the boys start fighting to the death in the basement of the high school. I think they're in the basement. I don't know where they are, somewhere near the gym. But at least Stefan is there to keep them from killing each other because it is brutal, like right from the jump. Bonnie is freaking out in the car now because she knows that Sybil was right and no one is gonna pick Enzo over Damon. So what can she do? She doesn't have any powers anymore. She, of course, picks Enzo, but she can't actually help him. The fighting gets really crazy and it definitely looks like Enzo is going to win, and then Stefan interrupts like right on time and keeps Damon from dying. But then Caroline shows up and stops Stefan from killing Enzo. So Damon knocks Caroline out and Enzo knocks Stefan out, and now it's just the boys once again fighting. Damon reaches in and grabs Enzo's heart, but then Bonnie shows up and cries out and makes him stop. Sybil shows up and is like, yeah, Damon can't control it, dude. I told them to kill each other, so that's what they're gonna do, unless, of course, you're ready to pick. So Bonnie frantically yells that she picks Enzo. Damon begs Bonnie not to do this to him, like, bro, you got some nerve. She says that she knows that there must be some part of him that's still in there, so she knows it's gonna hurt her to live with the fact that she killed her best friend, but she can't let Enzo die because she loves him. Sybil is then like, yeah, so here's the thing. Damon is an asset to me, and Enzo's always been a burden. So Bonnie, you actually made the wrong choice, and I'm revoking what I said. She will let Damon kill Bonnie, and then she'll kill Enzo, unless Enzo turns off his humanity. Enzo obviously can't let Bonnie die, so he turns to her and says that she is the only one that can bring him back, and he's so sorry. He kisses her, and then we watch the light leave his eyes as he freaking turns his humanity off. Sybil's like, oh my god, this is great news. Now I'm actually gonna take back that second deal I just made, and Damon, I still need you to kill Bonnie in 10 seconds. She starts counting down from 10, and Bonnie is like so shocked and appalled by what's just happened that she's like frozen and she can't run, and she doesn't start running until she gets to 4. Of course, Damon catches her and slams her into a car. She's begging him to fight, but it's clear that at this point Damon has given up. So he starts like listing off the different ways she could choose to be killed, and then Rick hits him with his car. He gets out of the car and bangs the tuning fork on the hood, so then Sybil, who has come outside with Enzo, collapses in pain. Enzo goes to attack Rick, but thankfully Stefan is there and he snaps Enzo's neck, so nobody gets to Rick, and the pitchfork is still going ding 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 ding. And then Caroline shows up and kicks in Sybil's face. Georgie followed Rick, so I don't know who's home with the kids, and she saw it all happen. Damon stands up, and he doesn't go after Bonnie, but they realize that his mind control is still not completely broken, even though Sybil is unconscious. He has been told to do something with her like big master plan, but remember, he can't say what that is, so he just gets into his car and drives away. I really hope you guys like Sybil as a villain, because she's so evil and also so annoying. Like, I think I feel the way most people feel about Kai about her, but I think that's a good thing. I think you're supposed to hate her. I, for the life of me, can't remember how her arc pans out though. So if it ends up being dumb, we'll get there together, I guess. So yes, they lock Sybil up in a cell in the armory. Bonnie is taking Enzo to the cabin. Also, she's very upset with Stefan and tells him that she thinks it's ridiculous that he would have picked Damon, even though Damon has given up and is not fighting the mind control, and Enzo was doing everything in his power to help them. Caroline is also going to go to the cabin because she doesn't want to leave Bonnie alone. Stefan apologizes for the fact that they were on opposite sides of the fight today, you know, their first day of being engaged, and she says that she hates it too and everything's going to hopefully work out. Stefan writes to Elena to update her on everything while he's drinking at the grill. Rick shows up and they bond a little bit. Rick says that Damon is the closest he ever came to having a brother, and he believes that if Damon can be saved, it will of course be Stefan that can do it. But Stefan really has lost hope at this point, and he's like, I've never seen Damon this way before, and if the compulsion isn't stopped by Sybil being imprisoned, I don't know what we do. But then we see Sybil in the cell humming and singing, so of course the compulsion's not been broken. Like, what? We see more of Damon's memories from the prison world, except this time he's making pancakes for freaking Sybil instead of Bonnie. She's feeding on this like selfish fear of hell that he has and reminding him that the only way he can be totally connected to her is if they ruin all of his friendships, because there's still people out there willing to fight for him and she needs to destroy all of that. So he does the body in the road trick on Tyler. And when I tell you Tyler looks so damn good in this scene, they brought him back for approximately 5 minutes, but man, the scruff, he looks so good. Tyler begs him to hold off and fight the compulsion, and Damon says he doesn't care, and he doesn't even know what's real anymore. Everything is so scrambled up in his mind that nothing makes sense. So Tyler's like, okay, then go ahead and kill me, because if I'm gonna go out, I wanna go out just like this. I wanna be the last face you see. I wanna be the face that reminds you that you gave up and let yourself become a siren's little bitch. And then Damon starts to walk away and leave Tyler in the road. So do you think that Tyler quickly gets into his vehicle and drives away? No. Why would that be what he does, okay? Of course he eggs Damon on a little bit more. So Damon gets angry and turns around and freaking attacks and kills Tyler. And that's the end of episode 3. I hope you guys enjoyed this week's episodes. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you're having a great weekend so far, and I will see you so soon. Have a good one. Bye!